So I was gonna make a video a few days ago of teams that have impressed me in the Club World Cup, teams that have played better than I thought they would, and I think the teams that I was thinking of for the most part were Wydad, Al Hilal, and LAFC. I was actually really excited about how LAFC played against Chelsea, and seeing the Chelsea players visibly frustrated was a sign that LAFC was doing something right, even if they did lose the game. But there's the question of like, where do I set the bar for non-European teams? Do I say if you play a good game, that's enough for me to be impressed with how you did? Or do you have to win? Like, how much better is Europe than everyone else? Because I've kind of been operating under this assumption that Europe is far and away the best, has the best football clubs, and that's not even really other reasons. Also, it's not like European players are inherently better. In fact, that very clearly isn't the case because the World Cup happens and South American North, like Morocco just made the semifinals. Like Argentina are World Cup champions. It's not that European players are better, but European clubs are richer and they have been pillaging every other league basically of their talented players. This is something that Brazil and Argentina have suffered from, especially, is any promising youngster is very quickly snapped up by a European club. So they don't really get to enjoy those young talents as much. Brazil and Argentina both have very talented teams, but how many of those players are actually based in South America in the club game? Not too many of them. And for that reason, I had assumed that Europe was going to do a lot because they have the wealth and they have the ability to snatch up players from nations outside of Europe and take away all of their best players to Europe. But then Inter Miami beat Porto, which was maybe not like a seismic shock or anything, but still a surprise. And then Botafogo beat PSG, which came like completely out of left field to me. And maybe I should have seen this coming. Botafogo are Libertadores champions, but I'm pretty sure like their manager and some of their players who won them the Libertadores left. Like, and even if they had all of them, this is PSG. This is a team with over 700 million euros in their wage bill, according to the 2024 accounts, and I assume it's going to be pretty similar for 2025, versus a team who, by most estimates I saw, their 2025 wage bill doesn't even reach 50 million Brazilian dollars. Like, this is such a massive mismatch in terms of wealth and finance. And so, to quote the language used by the commentators in the Champions League final, this is a win for football. This is a huge win for football. Seeing Botafogo beat PSG is massive. I cannot, like, express enough how happy and excited I am for Botafogo and the fact that they got to win this. That is awesome. And it's not something I saw coming, but this is something that suggests maybe the Club World Cup can be more fun. And my thoughts on the Club World Cup so far have been that it is a pretty fun tournament, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's necessary. And the European teams, by and large, still have been winning. Like, we hadn't really seen upsets, per se, for the most part. But then two upsets in one day, Inter Miami beating Porto, and then seismic PSG, whose last two games have been a 5-0 victory over Inter Milan and a 4-0 victory over Atletico Madrid, lose to Botafogo. And like, the game was at 2 a.m. I didn't actually get to see it. I'm now kind of disappointed. Maybe I should have stayed up until 4 in the morning to watch Botafogo PSG, because it would have been worth it, honestly. So I watched the 11-minute highlights, and it seemed like PSG were not actually really managing to get too many like balls into the box. So they were having to shoot from outside the box, and they're pretty good at that still. They can pretty much score from anywhere, but it wasn't meant to be. And maybe it was smash and grab from Botafogo. Maybe they did a bit better than that, but really, no matter how they won, who really cares? We just saw Botafogo beat PSG, and we haven't seen like South American teams have a real shot at Europe for a while. Like, Club World Cup always has been won by European teams since 2011. But here we saw the champions of South America going up against the champions of Europe. And the champions of South America won. The continent that, again, has all of its best players pillaged by European teams. And this is a huge, huge win for football that Botafogo beat PSG. I am just so deliriously happy about that. I um I have so many issues with PSG. I've made that clear. I've talked about that, how they distort the competitive balance of French football, how they've played an indirect part in a lot of French clubs going bankrupt. And that's when you ignore all the stuff about how they're being used by, a vessel of the Qatari state, and also like how much money went into the squad. It's treated as this like miracle fairy tale that PSG won the Champions League when their wage bill was like over 200 million more than the next closest team in Europe. That's like the teams that spend the most money almost always win. And to make the point of wage bills again, Botafogo have a fraction of the wage bill PSG have, and they won. That is massive, and I am so happy for Botafogo. This just makes me really happy. It makes me happy because I don't like PSG that much. It makes me even happier to see a South American team beat the European champions who have spent the last few months terrorizing everyone in Europe. That's really fun. I love that. So congrats to Botafogo.